Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my series of Android training. And this is the second chapter of Android tutorials. And today we will be basically covering up and doing up some coding part. So for today, I have decided up that we will go ahead and create the layouts. So in Android, layouts are created using XML. So this is the reason that I have named this chapter 2 as designing UI using XML. So what exactly we will read today? At first, we will understand what exactly is an activity and a fragment in Android. So we will not be understanding the life cycle of activity and fragment. Rather, just try to understand the definition and the need of activities and fragment. Second, we will be designing up layouts. So as we design up layouts, these layouts are drawn on an activity or on an fragment. So I want you to take this word. Whenever we draw the layouts, these layouts are then drawn further on an activity or on an fragment. So basically on Android, we have three types of layout, which are linear, relative and constraint layout. But obviously there are few others layout, such as coordinate layout or frame layout or tabular layout. So there are few others layout, but the very important layout which you need to understand is relative layout. If you understand the usage of relative layout and how we can use it to build up complex uh, layout structures, then it will be very easy for you to use other type of layouts. Then after that, we will be seeing how we take the control of a layout which is within a activity or fragment. So today we will just be talking about activity. We will not be talking about fragment while we code. So I will tell you the definition of fragment, the need of fragment, but while coding we will just be talking about the activity. Then we will, after taking up the control, then we will realize the difference between native, hybrid and mobile web apps. So there are people who get confused, saying that what exactly is the difference between native, hybrid, or web mobile app. So I will try to make sure you understand the coding aspect and also get the deeper aspect on what exactly is a hybrid app, right? Then at last, you can see that I've written introduction to web grid or list view. So there are two ways in which you can design up a layout. So as of now, you can see that I'm just talking. I have not opened up Android Studio and we have not started up coding. So I'm just setting up your base for this further 1 hour. So we can create layout in two ways. Like either we can create the layout before runtime. We can define it in an XML, and then that layout will be drawn in on an activity, or else we can create the layout using during runtime. When we do that, when we do it during runtime, we need something called as array adapter or adapter view. There is something called as adapter view in Android, which is used to load or uh, put up various views during runtime. So what exactly all these things mean and how we exactly collaborate all of these things together to build up a layout, let's talk about that. So the first thing which we will learn today is what is an activity and fragment in Android. So for this session, I will not code. Let us see and try to understand this with paintbrush. So just assume this to be a cell phone, right? Okay. So this is your cell phone, and the entire space which is between inside this rectangle will be the space of your complete mobile, which you can see the space of your screen. So whenever you open up an app, say for example, I go ahead and open Android Studio. So this is one of my previous projects which I'm running up. So I'm just opening up the emulator, which is Android emulator, which is like this. So on the left hand side, we have the screen on paint, and on the right hand side, we have the screen, actual screen. So this is your actual screen rectangle, and whenever you go inside your phone and open up any app, say I go and open up this app. So the entire space which is visible on the mobile, which you can, like, I'm just marking it up with the arrow, so you can see. So this entire space is covered up by an container, and that container is known as like activity. So this is again an activity. You can see over here that this is an activity, and this complete space like belongs to this app, and the innermost space is called as an activity. Now activity has a various like forms, states, and it has a life cycle. Why it requires a life cycle? So when I say that I am closing up an activity, so there can be a lot of apps, right? So this particular app has its lowest container, which is an activity, and like we can close it, we can like minimize it, and like we can go to some other place. So at the end, this particular activity which is running for this particular application comes into various stages where it is running, or it is paused, or it is deleted, cleared away, right? So now the app has been killed. It means that the activity has been killed. So the lowermost container which a application gets from Android is called as an activity. So this whole screen will be an activity, and like we can lay out the screen using various layouts. So this particular screen, now when you say that you're building up an app for an e-commerce platform, so there might be a scenario where you say that this particular first half will contain the menu, then here you will show up the products, then after this, like this will be the region where you will be showing up your previous customers, then you will, here you will show up some sale item, and then you will scroll down. After that, when a person swipes above, you will scroll down, right? So there can be a lot of things which you can do on the screen on a mobile, but how come like you will define what all things will be placed where? This is something which is called as layout. So we call it as layout. Now there can be different forms of layout. So for example, you are building up a gallery, image gallery. So for that layout, you need an image to be shown here, then you need an image to be shown here, then you need an image to be shown here. Similarly, after that, you need an image to be shown here, then here. You're building up an image gallery, right? So after you click on this image, when you click on this image should open, right? So this is a kind of layout. So here you are saying that you are defining up some views. So the components which are placed inside this rectangle, so any component, say if we are having a text box here, text box means in a form we have name. In name, we can fill up our name, right? We can fill up a name. So that box is called as text box. So we can have a text box here, or else we can have the text box at upper top, or else we can have it at down. So where do we want it? Like that is defined by the layout. And to always make sure that the thing is visible on that particular point when you open up the app, we define, like we have different kind of layouts. For example, an example of layout is linear layout. Then we have relative layout. Let us first see only these two layouts, which is linear layout and relative layout. Say when you say like mobile this particular mobile uses a linear layout. When you say this particular mobile uses a linear layout, it means whenever you put in a component within this layout, so layout is defined to like make sure the place of the component, right? So in Android, any element which belongs to activity layout is a view. So in Android, we call these elements as view. So when I say I will be having an image over here, so this will be an image view. When I will have a text box over here, this will be a text view. When I will have just a edit text box, then will be a edit text view. Then we can have only like we can have a drop down. So we can have a drop down view. So there are different views. So the elements which will be present inside this particular layout or activity will be called as views, right? Now, now we say that this particular mobile is following up the linear layout, which is this layout. So it means that you can either place them horizontally or you can place them vertically. So for linear layout, you can either place them vertically or you can place them horizontally, right? So these are the two types of linear layout. Now what exactly this means? So this actually means that when you are placing up a component, say you say that please place component A or the text view over here. Then when we will talk about the second element, if it is a vertical linear layout, then it will come below it. But if it is a horizontal linear layout, then it will come like this. So things will become more clear to you when we will jump to the coding part. As of now, try to understand the types of layouts. So this is linear layout. Then comes the relative layout. Now what is the difference between linear layout and relative layout? In linear layout, when you say that, when you are adding up the components, so you have given one component, then you have given two component, then three component, then all will come in a single line. So you cannot make sure that the position of this element, which is the second element. So this is the first element and this is the second element, right? So both the elements and their position are decided up by the main layout, which is the parent layout. And parent layout is your phone, the complete layout. This is the parent layout. This the position of these elements are only like managed by the parent layout, and like they can either be horizontal or vertical. But it had a lot of drawbacks. You could not have defined layouts in a good way. And then like there was something called as relative layout. What is relative layout? If few people know about relative path or absolute path, the relative word, the English meaning of relative word is like it relates to something else. So in the same case, here you can decide in relative layout, you can say my first component will be here and second component will be below the first component but towards the left side. Then you can say that my third component will be below the first component but towards the right side. So you are relating the position of this particular element or view with respect to the parent and with respect to the childs. What are the childs? This is a child. This will be a view or an element within this layout. So this was like majorly about linear layout and relative layout. Now I just wanted you people to start up with paint. Let us like move ahead towards code. But before I go ahead and like we go in deep dive into Android Studio, let us discuss about one more concept. So the concept which I will be discussing now is fragments. What are fragments and why do we need them? Okay. So now we have discussed that this is the layout, this is the activity, and in activity we like set up the layout and we put up the elements. Elements are views in Android, right? But there might be a scenario in which what you are doing is like there is a button and after you press the button, whenever someone press the buttons on your Android screen, then it takes you to another activity. So when you say that you are moving on to the another activity, then there will be another activity entirely which will get open on this phone. So previously it was activity A and now it will be activity B. So when you change the activity, so this will be activity A, and when you click on the button in activity A, what gets open? Activity B. So it means like you have just clicked on the shopping cart button and you move on to the activity B, which is the shopping cart page. or the activity. But in the real life scenario, there are a lot of instances and a lot of scenarios in which you say that after clicking on this button, the entire activity should not get changed, only the first half of the content should get changed and all the below content should remain as it is. So as this is the complete space which has been provided by your mobile and being taken by the activity, what you can say is within an activity, say you give a part to a fragment and you ask fragment to load its own layout. So we have a different layout, its own layout. So we have a different layout for fragment and the fragment loads its own layout. But the fragment itself is loaded up by the activity. So we like the fragment needs to be placed in up by the activity, right? So the activity knows that the fragment is present on the upper half. And now when you go ahead and click on this button, you can configure it in this way that the below section does not get changed. The below section does not get changed, but only the above one does, right? But this fragment will get changed by the click of the below button, right? So this was the need of fragments, and like it is always said that you cannot develop a good Android app without using up the fragment, and that is so much true. So now let us go ahead and design our first layout in Android. So this is my Android Studio, and as you remember, like I have given a project name as AutoFunnel. You can see this up at the very top. The name of the project is AutoFunnel, and we have opened up activity underscore main. So before we just start working on Android, I want you to open these three folder. One is under resources, there will be a layout folder, this one. Then second will be under Java com example auto funnel. So here is main activity Java class. So this is Java class, this is XML. And the third one which I want you to open is the manifest folder, which is here, and it has an XML file which is android manifest.xml. So why I have asked you to do this, I will discuss in a second. So for now, let us go ahead and create a new activity. So there can be a lot of activities within Android, but there is one main activity from where your program starts. That activity is called as the launcher activity. We will discuss about it. So to create a new activity, just right click on this folder and now just go to new and say new activity. So here you will find an activity. You can see over here activity. So let me minimize this back, and inside this activity you have a lot of different kind of activities, like which has already code which may be required if you are building up a login activity, or you're building up a scrolling activity, or you are building up a fragmented activity. But here in this training tutorial we will just be taking up the blank activity. We will create everything by ourselves. So I will just say blank activity. I will this give this the name of auto funnel main. Let this be given the name like this, and let me finish this. And if you see that I had marked up the launcher checkbox, there was a checkbox, launcher checkbox. So I just marked it up. So this activity has been created. Auto funnel main activity has been created, and I think that I will have to refresh up my Gradle layout. So reload from disk, right? Okay. So now you see that there is another activity called as activity auto funnel underscore main, and in Java also we have auto funnel main. So what I wanted you to see is, like, whenever we create an activity, there are two files which are created. One is the Java file, which is the controlling file, and second is the XML file, which is the layout file, which will like gets uh, painted on the screen. And then whatever is painted on the screen, when someone clicks it, swipes it, do some action, you can control it using this Java class. And the third folder which I asked you to open will be the Android manifest. So let me open up this Android manifest. As of now, this manifest is, you can see as on my screen, is very small. You see it very small. It has very like it has nothing. So this manifest is nothing but the index of your Android app. So the manifest also starts with an XML. So the XML version which Android is using as of now is version 1.0, and the encoding type is UTF-8. So this line remains up the same. You always have to copy paste this line. This remains the same. Then again, this is the line which says that this particular XML file is the manifest file, and the next part is the package, which says that the package name is this. If you change the package over here, you will have to change the package over here. You see, these two names are the same: com.example.autofunnel and com.example.autofunnel. These two names are the same. Then below it, we have two permissions which have been used. So these permissions like came up by default. So I never added them, and we will talk about permission at later stage. As of now, you can just ignore them. There is one permission and one feature. Sorry. So you can ignore them as of now, but you can see and analyze the functioning of Android manifest, saying that Android manifest knows what all permissions are being used by your application. So whenever you like publish your app to the Play Store, the Google knows that your app is using an SMS permission, or the app is using an uh, call log permission. How does the Google Play come to know? It comes to know by reading up this XML. So in this XML, you will have to write down all the permissions which are being used by your app. Okay, so then the next part is the application part, which is this, which you can see over here. So this, there is always a block for application. So if you people do not know how an Android like XML works, there is a starting like less than sign, then at the end you have a greater than sign with like a backslash, and this means the end of this property. So in XML you define all the properties. So in this you are defining a user feature, and the name of the feature is this. In a similar way, this is the application onion. You are defining different properties of the application, where you're saying Android allow backup is true. Then you are saying that the launcher icon. So whenever you're running up your application has an icon, right? So Amazon has its own icon, then Make My Trip has its own icon, which is in red color, right? Then all the apps has their own icon. So this is where they are putting up the icon. Then this is just the label of the app, which is just to make sure that you're giving up a name, nothing else. Then we have a round icon. So there are different usage of icon and round icon. So there are places where Android is itself using round icon by default. So that's why you are like just defining in the round icon. Then there is an RTL support. What is RTL support? We will talk about it later. Then we have Android theme. So theme is something which is being defined, I guess, which is being defined in here. So you see on the very left side, very bottom, we have themes. So this themes can also be written in XML, you can see. So my theme name is theme.autofunnel, and the parent of this theme from where it is getting everything is this. So the only properties which belong to theme.autofunnel are these. Other than these, all of them have been like inherited from the parent. So I have not coded anything, not written anything. This will come up by itself, and this is the default theme. So what is the meaning of theme? Theme means like how exactly your front window will look. Does it should have the upper bar or it should have the lower bar or not? So we will talk about it again later. Then we have user libraries, some of the user libraries, and if we go down, we have some metadata which has been included due to some variable which should not have been included. I'm not sure. There might be an instance that I have chosen a project which also have mobile sensibility. Then at last, you will find something called as activities. So whenever we create an activity, an entry is also made in the manifest. So manifest knows how many activities are there in your Android app, right? So here it says auto funnel main is extending up variable activity, so which is a wrong part, and this is happening might be because I'm using a wrong type of project maybe. So I will just correct it up, but for now I think that I have created a wrong activity. Let me go ahead and delete it. Save delete will delete all the usage of this particular class. So we can see the usage of this particular activity. Delete this, delete anyway, and again I will go ahead and say delete it. Okay, delete anyway, and in the Android manifest let me delete this complete block, right? And I'm saving it up. This is good. So let me go ahead and say new. Give me a second please. Let me delete this metadata which is not required by us, and this library is also a variable library, and rest all looks fine. Again, this feature and permission are also not required as of now. So let me go ahead and right click again, click on new and say activity, and in an activity I will be saying a, let's say a empty activity. Name is auto funnel. So you can see over here now I'm creating again. So there is a launcher activity checkbox. So as of now I am not like checking this button off. Let me say finish. Now this looks good. App combat activity. So previously what happened was like we build up a blank activity. So maybe this was an activity for variable. So it says, now you can see I just missed that part, like blank activities. It creates a blank activity for Wear OS. Wear OS means your watches. Wearable. This is a wearable operating system, right? Watches. So, but now the kind of activity which I have created is the empty activity, and this activity is for mobile. Creates a new empty activity, right? So now we do not have any problem. We should not have any problem with the Android manifest, but it should also contain the activity which we have just added. So you can see over here, it has this activity. Only a single line is enough. As we have not selected it as the launcher, that's why this activity is not having something like this. So in XML, you can either like close it over here. If this is a single line, you can close it over here, and this will not be required, right? So in a single line, you can close it, or else you can, if there are multiple lines, you can bifurcate into two and like let's close it afterwards. So this backslash and the name of this tag means that you're closing of this tag, and this is the opening of this tag. This is the property, and inside this will be the properties which will be followed up by the activity. So here you can see that it says that the main activity is this, and the launcher activity is also this. If I go ahead and copy all of this and paste all of them over here, so this will become my launcher class now and the main class. Now let me go ahead and delete all of this second activity. As we have deleted it, we do not require this now. Let me delete it. Let me just delete it. I know the usage. Then we have to delete it from here. Just delete it and say okay. So all of these things have been deleted, right? And now the project looks so clean. Let me go ahead and run this project for you. After creating of this new activity, we have not done anything. We were just talking about the Android manifest. So for running this activity, I have just click on this button. So I will be teaching you how to like set up your emulator by yourself. So it says error at the very bottom. It says error, unexpected element action found in manifest. Okay. So let me delete it. There might be something which I am missing up. Let me delete it. Let me delete it. And here let me again go say new activity, empty activity. Let me give it the name auto funnel. Let me set it as launcher activity and then say finish. Okay, so you can see up the error like these two things, main and launcher. Both of them will come inside intent filter. Both of them will come inside intent filter. So this is not required and that's why it was giving me an error. So again, let me run it back. And you can see over here that the build has been finished and now it will install itself. You can see at the very bottom it says install. See here it says install. Now it says launching activity and the activity has been launched, right? So we were just talking about the themes in like some time back. We were talking about themes. So like what exactly theme is, I will just tell you. So if I minimize it, you can see that at the very top we have a blue bar. So we can remove this blue bar completely using themes. So you are saying that I do not need the upper bar, and you can create it. You can create this bar as per you in your layout. So this is what we will be doing in this tutorial. So I will come back to it now. As we have created up the activity, we have seen the Android manifest file. So there are two more files on which we need to focus today. So one is the XML file and second is the controlling file, which is the AutoFunnel. One is this and the second one is this. We will be studying only these two files. One is this and second one is this. So let us open up activity AutoFunnel now, which is our second topic. So nowadays, the mostly used layout or even the recommended layout by Android is constrained layout. This is what they have been building up from so long. So I told you that the layout is for the entire mobile screen, and inside this layout we put up views. We have, you can see over here, we have text view, we have button, we have image view, we have recycle view, we have fragment, then we have scroll view, then we have switch. So again, there are different types of view and different types of components. So in text view also there are so many: password text view, email, phone, time, number. So they have their own properties. For example, if you choose the password one, it knows that it should not show the password on the front. Whenever someone types it in, it should be on dotted format, right? It should not show the user what he or she is typing in. Then we have buttons. We have different kind of buttons. We have image button, we have buttons, we have chip buttons, we have radio buttons, we have toggle buttons, we have switch. Then we have some widgets. Widget is something like progress bar or videos or web view. So we have already discussed. You can see that on web view we have a Chrome icon. Here we have a Chrome icon. So we have discussed in the very first video that how people make Android app in just 5 minutes. So this is using which they do it using a web view. So these are different views which can be placed inside a layout. But where are the layouts? Where are different kind of layouts? I cannot see the linear layout or relative layout, something like that. So I can see the components which can be placed inside a layout. So this PALE plate is nothing but the components which can be formed inside a this particular frame. And the last part is the layout. You can see over here. Last part is the layouts. So we have constraint layout, we have linear horizontal, linear vertical, then we have relative layout, which is not given over here, which would have been like added. But then we have frame layout, then we have tab table layout, then we have table row layout, and then at the last we have space layout. So if you just go ahead and drop it over here, it will create a linear layout below this constraint layout. You see that it has created a linear layout under this constraint layout, which is not I wanted linear layout or relative layout to be at the very top. So how do we change the top level layout? Let me go ahead and let me just delete it. So how to change this layout? We'll come back to this part in a second. Next is the containers. In containers, you have scrollable views, then you have card view, then you have toolbar, tab layout, view stuff. So there are a lot of things which you can include on the front end. And how to use them and like what exactly is the usage of them, we will discuss one by one. You need if I will try you to explain few of them, and I think you should be good to go ahead then by yourself. Right? Then we have some helper layouts classes, then like layer or mock view or flow, barriers, groups. Then we have some Google views. So if you're making an app in which you are tracking up the trucks, you have given your like the transport department an app where you can track them from their phone, then you can need a map. You need a map view, right? So similarly, if you are having a app where you are putting up videos, then you can have an ad view to earn money, right? And these are the legacy layouts. So relative layout has become the legacy layout because of constraint layout. So constraint layout is something which has overtaken relative layout, but yes, still in the market there are a lot of companies which are still using relative layout because their UI have already been built up using relative layout. So you can see in layout you have constraint layout, but you do not have relative layout because it is there in the legacy layout, right? So these were the few different kind of layout, and how you can use them and what is the use of them. We will discuss it in some time. So now you have covered this part. We have covered this part. Now let us see if by how we can change the constraint layout to some other layout. If we want our base layout to be changed into some other layout, we need to right click over here, and then we need to say convert view. Here you will see something like as convert view, and as you go and type in convert view, you will be able to see all the layouts which can be set as the initial layout. So you can set it to a frame layout, relative layout, coordinate layout, linear layout, constraint layout. So also we have not discussed about coordinate layout or frame layout. So we will be talking about all these things in upcoming chapters slowly and gradually. So as of now, let me just go ahead with relative layout. So it is very important for you to understand relative layout, and this will become your base for constraint layout. So I have now changed up my initial layout, which is the relative layout, and if I go to the very top part, here we can see code, split, design. Split means you will be able to see both the things. You are able to see this and you are able to see this. Design is you are just able to see the design, and code is you're just able to see the code. Now let me split it and let me write up something for you guys. So let me close it over here. And so I've already told you this, that we can write XML in two types. This. So this is also good. Now I can write multiple statements between this relative layout. So let me just type in text view, and let me, rather than just typing it myself, let me go ahead and go to the design part, and let me just drop in a text view. So I will just drop in a text view. This will add a text view automatically. So if I see over here that the text view has been added automatically inside this relative layout. So the idea of this text view is this. So we will discuss about these properties, and we are wrapping up the content, and the text is this. Let me say that the margin Android margin top equal to 40 dp. Let me set this, and so at least this view is visible to us, and left is also 40 dp. Now if I split this, so you see over here that here this part, if I just maximize it and if I just move up, so you see that there is a text view. So whatever I write inside it will be written over here, right? You can see over here. If I just give a space, it will be more visible. So I can say that this is an auto funnel application. So this is visible out here. So Android text is something which says that yes, there is a text view. Text view means we are just showing up the text, and the value of this text is this. The height and width of the text is wrap content. So there are two properties, height and width, which can be filled up with three values. One is, so I guess this is how we mark up a comment. I'm not sure. Let me check this. How to mark comment in XML. So this is how you write up a comment. So it has been long, like I have been not using Android and XML both. So this is our comment. Now this seems fine. Now there is some issue again. Okay, we'll come back to it later. I will just try to find it for you. Guys, let me first show you what all things we can write up in this height and width. This is important, right? So height and width can have three kind of values. One is match parent, then it can have wrap content, and then it can have some specific values like 30 dp, 40 dp, etc. So here you can have either match content or wrap content, or you can have something like match parent. If you say match parent, what exactly this means? So this means that the height and width of this particular view is equal to the height and width of its parents, which is the relative layout. Now height and width of this relative layout is equal to match parent, which is the entire screen, because this is the first layout. So this will take the entire screen. When you say match parent, it will take the entire screen. And now as this also has match parent, this has also taken up the entire screen. You can see. So why we have the upper and the left margins? Because we have given up these margins. So that's why these margins are coming. If I just go ahead and delete it, then it will be taking up the entire screen. So you can see here that it is taking up the entire screen, right? In a similar way, we have wrap content. What is the meaning of wrap content? Means please give this view only that much space which it actually requires to display its contents. So if instead of an image view there would have been a text view, there would have been an image view, then wrap content would have like taken the size of that particular image as the width and height. This is what it says, wrap as per the content. So now it is taking only this much part, and this is very important. There is something like I have seen people getting confused where to use wrap content and where to use match parent. It is very important for you to know about this. And the third is you can just say that this text will be of 30 dp width and 30 dp height. So you can see that the height and width of this particular part has been changed, which now comes up to be like this, right? So this was, we have just spoken about the view, and we have just studied a few properties about the view. So in the upcoming chapters we will be seeing up more properties which can be included up inside a text view. So here a text view starts, for in this case here the text view starts and this is where it ends, right? And inside this we have the properties of the text view. So relative view ends here and relative view starts here. So now for this chapter, for the second chapter, the next part which I want to discuss today is relative layout, and focus on relative layout. So to make sure that you understand the concept of relative layout, I want you to understand what exactly we are building up. So what we will be going to do is, like, this is our mobile screen, and this mobile screen, we will try to divide this mobile screen into three parts. One will be the upper part, which is the header part. Then we will be having a lower part where we will be having the uh, button which we can swipe to register. And here in the middle part, what we will do, we will just take in our like the factory, the frame animation factory which we were talking about. So basically we will be dividing our screen into three parts. So how exactly we can do it? So we have already discussed about it that the linear layout matches everything from the parent. It decides the position of its components from the parent, but it does not relates its position with the child objects. So to create a three-layered structure, how I will divide this is like I will say that this inside this relative layout, I will create three more relative layouts. And let me first minimize this. so that you people can see the complete code. So we have a relative layout outside, and inside this relative layout we have mentioned in three relative layout. Still we are not able to see three parts out here, right? How we can see three parts? So at first, let me go ahead and say that the ID, Android ID equal to, I will say to be relative layout 1. Make sense? So I have given this ID as inner relative layout 1. So this is the inner relative layout 1. Then we have inner relative layout 2. And at the end we have inner relative layout 3. So two relative layouts cannot have the same ID. Two components rather in a view or in XML cannot have the same ID. This will cause ambiguity, right? Third. So this is the third relative. Still we are not able to see three parts. Why? Let us see that. So all of these things come with height and width. So the outer relative layout, you say that this is the complete relative layout, and like why we are taking the outer and why we are creating up the inner, we will just discuss about it. As of now, see this thing, like this outer relative layout is matching up the parent with height and width. That is okay because we need it to be the complete parent. So now the parent is complete mobile is the relative layout, and inside this relative layout we have three other relative layouts, which is 1, 2 and 3, but still we cannot see them. So let's assume we want our first relative layout to match the width, but the height we just want it to be 40 dp, or you can say let us take it to be 80 dp. So this is the first relative layout, which you can see now. We will come back to the middle one in some time. Let us go to the third one and say match parent and say it as again 80 dp. Again this has come to the top. So both of these, if you see, you will not be able to identify the difference in this figure, but if you click here or here, both of them are pointing at the very top because they are overlapping each other. But we want this layout to be at the very bottom, right? So what we will do is, I will just say over here Android align bottom. Android align parent bottom equal to true. So we have said Android align parent bottom equal to true. Now when I go ahead and click on this, it shows me the upper part. If I go ahead and click on this, it shows me the lower part. So now let us move to the third, which is the middle relative layout. So it still shows up to the entire page, right? So let us now correlate this as like with the benefit of relative layout. So now what is the benefit of relative layout? So now I can say that please put this particular relative layout above an ID which is in a layout 3. So this will be above this layout, and I want this to be below the first layout. So now you see that we have divided successfully this into three parts. Now the question is like why we have like taken these three relative layouts within a relative layout. The reason is I could not have used something like these two statements if we are not having an outer layout. It is because if I remove this, or like say this to be a linear layout, for example, I am saying that I just need a linear layout. So let me change it, and let us change it ethically from the place over here, let me convert view and say linear layout, apply this. And if I go to the code back, so I have the linear layout at the very top, but it gives me an error. So let us see why it is giving an error. So there is a button over here in Android Studio, like when you code over here, when you click out on the red things, there will be a bulb. You can see a bulb over here. This is a bulb. So I just need to click this bulb, and it says I need to set up the orientation, whether it should be horizontal or vertical. Let me select it. So I have added up the orientation. Let me change it to vertical. But if I move down and I press and I try to write this something like Android above layout underscore above, so it will not find this property. This property will not find, because now all these inner three relative layouts, all these inner three relative layouts are a part of linear, and now you cannot like write any of this property. You see, in linear layout, if we write Android, we will see nothing. So let's see how we can like what exactly this look likes on the front end. Let's see that. So if you go to the design or the split view, it's, you can see that the first one is over here. You can see it. First one is over here, then the second one is here, and the last one is here. So the first one is like this because it has 80 dp height, and again this one is at the very, it seems that it has gone outside. So you can see that this is it. So we it is very difficult in a linear layout. It is very difficult to judge things and make sure that the position of the things remains right. And we cannot relate it with these objects. I cannot say that this relative layout should be above this layout or something like this. This feasibility in relative layout makes this layout so powerful. So just to tell you, like, putting in a relative layout, putting up a relative layout inside a relative layout is a very complex structure, and it requires a lot of things at back end. So you need to be very cautious while doing this up, because this can hamper the performance of the product, right? So it is always not advisable to do it. But let me come back to my original uh, script, which was this, and let me say it below, and this is below one, but this is above the third one, right? So now everything looks good, right? So all these properties are not there in linear layout. So that's why if we want to divide our particular plate into three parts, we will have to divide it something like this. Now what exactly is a constraint layout? So this is also something which is very difficult, you can say, or you need a lot of practice to actually think how you can put one relative layout into another, like, or what will be the need of putting up a linear layout within a relative layout. So there are different needs, right? So you will have to think about it, right? But all these things have been resolved now with another layout which is called as constraint layout. So what exactly is a constraint layout? To see that, let me go to the design part, and rather than having a relative layout as the top component, I will change it as a constraint layout. And let me delete all the inner elements for now. So this is our constraint layout. So the purpose of like dividing screen into three parts using relative layout was that we need to make sure that if we are putting up the element in the first relative layout, it does not like travel to the second one, or like we need to just bifurcate the spaces. This was what like dividing the screen was. But in constrained layout, if you put up a text view, so it will look something like this to you. So this is a text view, and this has 4 dots over here. You see dots? You just need to click on a dot and you can like put it anywhere. You put it over here, and now when you click on this text view and stretch it down, you can see that it has become 20 like dp down from the top, from the parent top. So the advantage in constrained layout is like you can put up the views or elements directly into this big space and like design your structure as per you want. So now you can add another password thing over here, and now you can say that this password thing, you will combine it with this and say this password thing will remain over here. So here you will say, maybe in text you can say sign in, and here you can say password to sign in, and make like maybe you have already taken up the username, some you making screen something like that. So this will be the password, and this password will always remain 48, will maintain a distance of 48 from this text view. So there is no need of like making up different spaces. You can like link things with each other. You can even say that this particular thing should be in the middle. So this is, you are saying, in the middle. Now you can see that it has become blue, dark blue, both the sides. So this is a constrained layout where you are saying that you can have the relation to set the position of an element with anything. Now you can even set the position from down, or like something like this. If you do something like this, it might like look very odd, because this is a loop back and like both of them will overlap each other. But yes, there is no restriction. As per your thought process, you can do anything, or else like you can, if you want to say that I just want this, like I want to remove this. So how to remove this? Just click on this dot. If you click on this dot, this will be removed. I think no. Clear constraints of selection. So right click and say clear constraints of selection. Now this will clear the constraints only for this selection, which is this. So this was just an overview. Let us go to the code part and let's see what are the different properties. So as you were seeing in relative layout, we were having something like Android layout above, top, or like alignment from the parent, something like that, and like so many properties which were being related with each other. Now you have properties such as this: constrained layout constrained top to top of parent. So this is the upper constraint. So every element will have 4 constraints: top constraint, bottom constraint, right constraint, and left constraint. So in the similar way, if I just go and say app, so there is a difference. If you see in the property, there is a difference. There was an Android before and now there is an app. So let us discuss about it in a second. So let us first see the properties. So constraints has these many properties: constraint, height, width, circle. All of them has different purpose. The thing is, you can do anything. I have not seen a scenario which you cannot perform using the constraint layout. So you can do a lot of things using the constraint layout, and this was what I was talking about: constraint top, and then constraint right, then we have constraint left, then we have horizontal constraints by some properties, then height properties, then we have bottom properties, baseline properties. I'm not sure what exactly does they do, but yep, you may look into it. The second thing is this app and Android. So if you see over here, there is a line which says XMLNS app, and there is a web URL. So this is where from where the code has been picked up for constraint layout, and the object used for this is app, and that's why you are saying for constraint layout pick up the app object and put up the layout constraints. So this was something which was built at later stage to remove the dependency and the complexity involved in creating things, and like we while also looking up at the performance aspect if we use the relative layout, right? So these were like three major layouts which I always make sure people should know before like going ahead with Android tutorial, because other frame layout or you can say coordinate layout is a child or a subclass of frame layout. So all of these things you can like when you will give a read you will know about it. All you need to know is like what is the importance of layout and how the things are put inside a layout. Then like as per your use, if you are trying to make an app which uses a frame, then you use a frame layout. As the name suggests, it is used for pictorial or video representation mode. Then there is a grid layout which shows you the grid. So the another one thing over here is, if I go to my code back, let me just delete everything and let me come back to the relative layout, because this is what makes you learn things more. Below is 3. Let me see the design. This no. This is good. It's not coming. Oh, so we have not said match parent. It's for wrap parent. No, still not happy. ID layout above. Yep. So layout below is like, layout below means like this particular current layout is below 1 and this current layout is above 3. This is the meaning of layout below and above. Obviously as a coder you need to do make some changes, tweak things and understand things by yourself, and this is how I do it and I also expect you to do it. So now let us see how to control the elements of the UI which you have written in XML using Java. So to do this, let me open up my activity auto funnel. This is my auto funnel activity and this is my top layout, top relative inner layout. So under this layout, I'm just adding up a text view. So you see that I've just copy pasted up a text view. Text view is nothing but the text which is being written, and it says that layout center vertical true, layout center horizontal true. If I just remove it, so you can see that the horizontal center which was happening for this particular view has been removed. In this similar way, if I remove the vertical one, it will move up to the top. But I want this heading to be in the center. So this is what we have as of now. Let me go ahead and run it for you. And the text which will be shown is, this is my heading before change. And see, this is my heading before change. So this is the app, and in this app you can see that it says autofunnel. This is my heading before change, right? So now let us control it using Java. So the third part of this chapter is this folder, which is autofunnel, which is the Java one. So I will go to this part. So first thing you need to know is that every activity, so this is an activity for me, will extend an app combat activity class. So this is always necessary. If you do not know what exactly extend means in Java, so I've already said that for this course, there is a prerequisite that you should know Java. But still, just to give you a glimpse, this is something which says you are inheriting of this class. This is the base class. All the things which this class can do can be done by autofunnel. So now from this part to this part, we are overriding the like method, overriding a method which is for from this class, and this is on create. So this is the method which is always called whenever an activity is created. So in the first chapter, we realized, sorry, in this chapter itself, at the very start, we discussed about the activities and like their states. So this is one of the state which is on create. So over here, if I just right click on this space and if I click on generate, you can see right click on this space, and if I click on generate button, so you will be able to see something called as override methods. Just click on that and you will be able to see the list of methods which can be overridden from this class, which is app comeback activity. So there are various stages of an activity. You can see on start, on stop, on destroy, anything like which start with an on will be a maybe a it is not necessary, it may be a state. So these are some states, and just I just wanted you to see for a glimpse. We will discuss this in detail. So as of now, the only method which is necessary to build up or to run the activity is onCreate. So this is onCreate method, and in this onCreate method you need to set content view. So I told you that any layout will get laid on the activity. It will be like printed up, right? So set content view is nothing but the same, and it says R. This is a mechanism which you have to learn in Android, which is R. R mean resources. Within resources, I want to go to layout, which is this folder, and then after going to layout, I want to set it to activity auto funnel, which is this is the layout of this activity. This is what you are seeing by this statement, and here you are just creating up the activity. So this will remain same everywhere, but here the name of the XML file will come whose layout you want to put up in this activity, right? So next thing is I want to change the text view. So I will just say text view and create an object which is the heading object and say equal to new. Let me at first click on this and press alt enter. Press alt enter to get something like this and say import class, which is an already a class of Android, you can see. So now this is good, and you say new text view. So rather than saying this new text view, what I will do is let me set it as it is. And now let me go ahead and say heading equal to set resource. Let me check that. Okay. Okay, this looks good. So I will just change it to text view and say ID, and the ID was heading. So the ID of this particular text view was heading as the ID of this particular text view. So this is what I am taking in over here. So now this heading as this text view. Now let me go ahead and say heading dot set text, and inside the text this is the heading after run. So one thing is like I am not clicking up a button. So as soon as this will be created, this activity will be created, this text will get changed to this, and hence I will not be able to see this text with my eyes on the screen. So this will never be loaded right on the screen. So as soon as it gets created, it will get changed into this. So one thing is, like, I have intentionally written this statement above this statement. So as of now, I expect this particular system to give us an error. So why? I will talk about it. Let me run it. Terminate the app which is currently running, and let me install the new version. It says installing itself. I'm not doing anything yet. I've just clicked up a button. So you see over here it says auto funnel has stopped. Auto funnel has stopped. So let me just not open it again. Rather, at very bottom, you will find something as Logcat. Logcat, go to Logcat and you will be able to see the error. In this, you can find that it says null pointer exception. And why it is giving a null pointer exception, let me tell you. So you have to remember this. So we will be coming up to the debugging part later. So you have to remember this, that any element which you are fetching up from the layout should be written after this statement. Unless you set the content of a view, how can you fetch the element? At first you need to set the content, and then you need to fetch the element, and then you need to say set text, something like this. And I will just say run. Again, let me terminate the previous app, let the new app get installed, and here it goes. And as I told you, you will never be able to see the previous statement. It just says this is the heading after run, right? So this has got changed. Now what exactly is find view by ID? So this is a function which belongs to this particular class. You can say that find view by ID, and you will find the particular element. So the element which we are trying to find is heading, and heading is of type text view. That's why we have taken up the type text view, and heading is again of type text view. In the similar case, if you want to take the control of the relative layout, I will say relative layout, then we'll say outer layout, and here I will say outer layout equal to relative layout, and then find view by ID, and ID of this layout was, it was nothing. So I will have to set up the outer layout ID. So let me go ahead and change this to outer layout. Let me save it, go back and say outer layout. So you see that I have control of outer layout, and now I can do anything with outer layout. You can see a lot of functions which can be applied up to this layout. So you can change at runtime, you can change a lot of things within this layout, right? So this was all about taking up the controls for the Android app. So just before we go ahead and close up the session for today, let us see the difference between native, hybrid and web app. So let us first see the web app, which is the simplest one. So nowadays what is happening is, when you go ahead and prepare up a website, say I go to Google, let me bring it this side, let me maximize my screen for you guys. Now this is good. Next, no thanks. So this is Google, and if I just type in amazon.in, so this opens up on the mobile Chrome browser, but the layout is as per the mobile. So this is what is web app. So nowadays people build up their website like PWA, progressive web app, which means that this will be responsive to mobile, and this can use some features which are there within the mobile. Maybe you can read the contacts of your mobile using the browser app itself. So this is what the web app is and PWA is. So anything you open on a browser on mobile is web app. Second is native app and hybrid app. What is the difference between native and hybrid app? So as you know that we've already discussed that in Android there is something called as WebView. So this is a separate project which I have created and I have named it as WebTour. So this is the separate project, and in this project you can see that in the layout section I have just given a relative layout, and inside this relative layout I have just a web view in which I am saying fill parent, or I can even say match parent and match parent. So for now, let us concentrate back on this particular layout. So here we are having a web view, but say for instance you want to show something like this. You want half of your screen, you want half of your mobile screen to show up the website page, and other half have some buttons. Maybe there can be a scenario. So you have something like this. Here you are showing up the web page, and here you have some buttons of this XML code. So then what will happen? You'll go here, and with this web view you might say that the height of this web view is like 300 dp maybe, and then below it you are saying that I will have a button, maybe button which height is 40 dp and width is 40 dp and height is, let us make it a square for now, dp. Let me close this button and let us see the design now. So if you see that the upper half is the web view which will show you the web things, and the below half is the Android native code. So you can combine both of the things. Web view can be used to see the website, and like even the clicks will be happening on this view, and the below part can be used up for other things, right? So this was like a usage, like you can use anyhow you want, and like you can combine. The point is like there is something called as web view, and this can be used. So when you combine this web view inside your code and use it at various places, then your app becomes hybrid app. So this was like I just wanted you to explain as of now, and this brings this chapter to the close, and let's meet up in this third chapter of this series. Thank you guys, have a great